Welcome everybody to the weekly WordPress Roundup with BJ Keeton. I am BJ and I will be your host. And every week we get together and we talk about all of the best news, tutorials, and resources that I've been able to round up and really put together over this week. So make sure that you follow along in the description of this video because that's where all of the links that we're going to be talking about are. And then feel free to throw anything that you have to say in the comments, any kind of questions, say hello. We try to make this really interactive and we have a wonderful community already built up who tend to talk and help people out. So any kind of questions, whatever you want to do like that. I would also like to apologize if you can hear it. I'm not sure. Apparently, my neighbor decided to mow their yard exactly whenever I started prepping for this. So hopefully you are not getting a lot of spillover from that like I am. So let's get started. Let's see, do that. We'll be looking over here. This is where my comments tend to live. I see... everybody. Oh, wow. We've got a lot of people already. That's fantastic. Hi to Iowa and Senegal. Wow. That is, you guys are all fantastic. Thank y'all for coming in and talking to us and joining everybody this Friday. Before we get started, I didn't put it in the links to the video because it's not quite relevant to that, but I hope everybody knows that they have announced the name of the new Star Wars movie and put up a new trailer, and I'm such a Star Wars nerd, and I figure that there are some people watching this who are as well, that if you've missed that, you can watch that on YouTube, so I'm so excited. Now, that said, move forward into the WordPress stuff. I will... start by the really awesome feature that we released this week. I believe it came out yesterday. If you haven't updated Divi, I highly recommend that you do because we have a new draggable sizing and spacing control where when you are on Divi, when you're on the front end builder or the new back end builder, you can drag any of the edges of a module, a row, a section, and adjust its height, width, and also padding and margin that way, where you can completely adjust everything about it without having to go into the design tab and do it. You can fully do it by dragging and resizing on the builder itself. It's fantastic, you guys. I haven't had a chance to really play with this myself, but just reading the comments about it, looking at the post, and watching the video, this is going to change the way that I work with websites because when I do it, I'm always trying to mess with negative margins, and I'm always dragging and resizing the margins at the bottom of different kinds of rows and sections to try to get things to line up just right for me. And with this, I'm going to be able to do that to individual modules where I'm not going to have to try to get a hacky way around it to do what I want it to do because I'm no Jason or Donyetta, and so I have to fight with it every now and then, and this is going to take all of that away. I am so excited about this feature. Have any of you guys been able to try this yet? Have any of you guys updated and tried the new update? Because these controls look just fantastic. I'm seeing I'm seeing people said that they saw the new Monique saw the new Star Wars trailer. Can't wait. Can't wait. I'm glad you guys don't hear the mower. That's awesome. And Barry White on YouTube says that that this sounds like a lifesaver, and I think it will. I was actually talking to Reed, who's in the comments on YouTube, a little bit earlier today, and one of the things he mentioned was that this is going to be easier to train people to build for you. If you have a team under you, this is going to really up efficiency and be able to get the work done much faster, be able to really just up your efficiency, and that means upping your revenue. So we think that this is one that's really going to help. I see Unforced Rhythms on Facebook is here, and Lori from Colorado, thank you guys for joining so much. And from Germany with Rolf, that's awesome. I just love this with everybody coming in, and apparently Barry on YouTube does not like my use of negative margins. I can understand that. It is not the ideal way to do some of the things that I do with it. I know it's just the easy way. It's not the best way, the way I do stuff. Excuse me. I would also like to point out that if you look at the post of the new drag and, well, not drag and drop, the new draggable controls, you'll see that Nick has commented in the, obviously the comment section, and said that the next feature to be released, so you guys can look and see that it is going to be global defaults, which are going to be magnificent. I cannot wait for this. It's going to be a great precursor, he says, to the theme builder. And then he said we can think of it as the theme designer because we can have global defaults across everything. Then he said after that is going to be the Woocommerce Builder, and I know that you guys are really wanting that. So those are the two that Nick actually mentioned in the comments today on the post. So I would also like to point out that he said that these should be out within the next month or two. So he said all of this stuff to launch in the next month or two. So we're crossing our fingers. That stuff is going to be great because I know a lot of you guys have mentioned, especially that WooCommerce Builder, and I think that you guys are going to be really excited about this one. I see Sam has a question on YouTube. How does the drag and drop feature and negative margins work with responsive? Do you have to adjust it in each responsive mode? No, if you have it set up to be responsive, it will do it automatically within each mode. That is what Nick had said to someone earlier. Let me actually find that comment where he said that, because I literally just read that. Where are we at? If you have responsive editing enabled for margin, padding, height, or width, then the changes you make on the page while any particular responsive view mode is enabled will be applied to that specific breakpoint. So, so absolutely, you are safe on that one. I knew that I'd read that. I'd read that like 15 minutes ago, and I was like, that's a question I have the answer for. So that's great. And Reed, Nick seriously, I love Nick. He seriously cares about his product. He truly does. That is one thing that there is no doubt in my mind about talking to him. He is truly passionate about this, and he cares. Having one conversation with him about it will absolutely prove that to you. It's great. So hopefully you guys will be able to get this kind of feature rolling. You'll be able to use it really well and implement it into your workflows, because this is one that very easily can change the way that you work. And this is a work smarter, not harder feature. This is really good stuff. So yeah. So hopefully you guys will be able to make use of that. And if you didn't know about it, then I'm glad that you do. I see Leon in Facebook. Hi, everybody. Now, the second thing that I put under the news section this week would be that Security posted that Contact Form 7 actually has an SQL injection, that you need to patch this, that it was announced on March 26th. They don't know of anyone who really got hurt by this, but a patch was released 2 days ago. So you absolutely need to patch up Advanced Contact Form 7 if you do use that. It is incredibly popular. I am certain that you guys have clients or on your own sites that use that. So going in and patching it is imperative. There is a database issue with SQL injections right now. So it's been patched, it's been fixed. You just have to go fix that for yourself right now and get the new update in the patch. So I thought some of you guys would want to know about that. When I read it, I was like, oh, that's a big one, because Security constantly is putting out these kinds of updates, letting people know what kind of security issues there are, and they're wonderful about this. They're constantly up to date. And when I saw this one being one of the most used plugins in WordPress, it was totally newsworthy for you guys to find out about it, because it's very, very important that you don't have that vulnerability in your databases. Now, I see Donald says, new feature would work great with responsive if you could set the unit of measure to VW or percentage. I That might be possible. I know that when you select the anchors, when you select the outside edges, you can mess with the anchors. You might be able to do that. I don't know because I haven't personally like fiddled with it and got to do it, but I'm not 100% sure if you can or can't on that one. That might be possible. Because I agree, I like the VW and percentage myself. Those are what I tend to work with these days. And I see that Ryland asks, how do I show tags in a post with Divi? If you are doing that, Ryland, with the blog module, you will go in and under the first tab, I think it's the content tab, on the blog module, there is a drop down in there where you select what information you want to show up on the blog. It'll be tags, categories, author name, any of the meta information, and you can either check or uncheck that for it to show up on the blog module itself. Within the post itself, that gets a little more complicated, and you will probably actually have to edit the template for your blog post at that point. I think that I have, if I'm not mistaken, had to go in and edit single.php to remove it from the individual page, unless I am using Divi to build every last section of it. Otherwise, it should be automatically included on the page itself for tags. But if you're looking for it to be in the posts, it will be it'll be in the meta information. I'm trying to think on where there is a module that does that, and right now outside of the blog module for the entire grid, it's escaping my mind. I see Barry on YouTube says that maybe that's why Contact Form 7 is behaving badly today. And let's go with that because there's a very good chance of it that things are, when there are things going wrong, that they can just go haywire. I see Al Mamoon in Bangladesh says hi. So hi, how are you doing on Facebook? That's awesome. And Ryland, if that doesn't work, let us know. Chime in. We're always here every Friday afternoon. We do live streams on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock with use cases, and we always have staff in the comments like that. And we have a Facebook group called Divi Theme Users that you can join, and questions like that are great and answered, stuff like that. So tons of Facebook groups out there too, by the way. Wonderful. All beginner, intermediate, and advanced WordPress groups are great out there. I'm constantly, when I'm on Facebook, looking at those. So good stuff. And then the last thing I had under news that I really wanted to talk about, that I wanted to point out, I think some of you guys are going to both get a kick out of this if you didn't know about it, and be very grateful for it as well. Microsoft Edge is now going to be based on Chromium, which is the Google Chrome open source base. So there's an article that CSS Tricks posted about it's going Chromium, and what does that mean for front-end developers? Because this actually changes a lot for us. That changes a lot, really, for everybody on here. I see Reed on the on the YouTube comments. I see. I see reading the YouTube comments just said, thank God gradients, yes. So stuff like that, yes, you can do gradients now. They break down the some of the things that you can be using. You can do custom elements and a shadow DOM, HTML elements, summary elements. You can get a JavaScript font loading API finally. You have JavaScript flat and flat map. Text encoder, text decoder, JavaScript object rest, object spread, dynamic import of JavaScript modules, CSS background blend mode property, gradients, CSS prefers reduced motion media query, caret color, 8-digit hex color notation, intrinsic sizing, CSS text orientation property, CSS placeholder, the pseudo element, placeholder shown, place content. Oh my goodness, and I'm halfway down this list. Like, you're finally going to be able to do stuff. Whoa, I got excited and hit the table. You guys are finally going to be able to do stuff with Microsoft Edge. They are not officially releasing this yet. They announced this last year, toward the end of last year in December, and they have finally put up a preview build that you can download right now on Windows and play with this and see what's going on. Now, this does not solve your problems for legacy browsers. You're still going to have issues with people who are not updated to this. You're going to have issues with people who are still running old versions of Internet Explorer. I never thought I would have to say that if they're still running the old IE11, whatever it is, you are not going to be able to deal with those. But from this point forward, anything new that's put out there will be based on Chromium, which means that you're going to get all of the new features that you use already, the great stuff that Divi does that you guys use every single day. It's going to be usable in Microsoft Edge. So we are, as an industry, very thankful to Microsoft for making this choice, making this change. And it's a big change, and I know it's kind of a 30-year, almost, I guess 25-year decision that, they're having to go away from their own code base there. But it's a good thing for front-end developers. Now, what is an issue with this is that, I don't even want to say it's an issue, but I have a concern as a user, as a consumer, and as a developer, as someone who works with this stuff, that with everything being based on Chromium, that opens up a lot more security problems. It opens up just everything having that same base is going to create a lack of diversity more than anything else. I mean, there is a way for Microsoft to have those kinds of features that work and are based around modern practices and standards without necessarily adopting Chromium. But I'm just worried about there only being really one base for web browsers and there being 1,000 web browsers out there. But they're all the same one, essentially. That's what scares me a little bit. Because basically the same thing happened on iPhone with just WebKit. They were just Safari wrapped with a Chrome wrapper, I guess, for a while. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, but it's a very good thing for front-end devs who actually want to make things that people can read and use in Microsoft Edge. Also, it means that web apps will work in Edge. You're going to have a lot more ability to use the progressive web apps where people can actually use your software from Microsoft Edge. So there are good things for this. Like, it's a very good thing they're adopting this. And so your lives today, between the Divi update and finding out that Microsoft is adopting Chromium, your life just got a lot better, I think. So, I see some folks saying that, yes, Microsoft was only a decade behind, that ideally this will be a way for more folks finding the errors and fixing them faster. Jazzy, you are absolutely right. And that's why Reed says why you have to go with multiple forms of firewalls and software so that you can prevent brute force. Exactly. I mean, you running one base on everything, you cannot cover all your bases with one security solution. So that was the news this week. We got a new Star Wars trailer. We have the wonderful dragging and sizing options in Divi now. So make sure that you update. That there is an SQL injection in the name of it left me, Advanced Contact Form 7. So please make sure that you update Advanced Contact Form 7 and that Edge goes Chromium. So pretty cool stuff. Now, if you're just joining us, if you're new, this is the time where I would like to welcome you, say hello. Feel free to throw any ideas or questions or comments you have in the comment section in the chat. And we go through the news and tutorials and resources generally in that order. And if you miss any of this or miss it on any other Friday that we do this, the videos are archived on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch it whenever you want. And all of the links that we're talking about are in the description of this video, so feel free to expand it and click on anything that you find interesting, because without those content creators, we could not be doing this. So moving forward into the tutorials, I always want to highlight some of the stuff that we've got on the blog, because we have Donyetta and Jason putting in so much work, coming up with cool new stuff that you can do with Divi that we may not have known you could do with Divi. So I think it was Donyetta who had the overlapping, how to create overlapping animations on delay with Divi. Like, it is neat that you can have two animations that overlap each other within the same space on a delay to start. So it is really cool. It blows my mind every week seeing the stuff that they put out. And then Jason has a how to create floating corner designs for content in Divi, and it looks really awesome, where you have a box or an element with the corners floating with different interactable icons. Like, it is really, really cool. So y'all definitely need to check those out. They are brilliant. Now, the TorqueMag people published a how to inform your clients about the WordPress block editor. This one is something we've talked about in the past. It's just one of those that when I saw it, I wanted to make sure that you remember this, that you're up on these kinds of things, because it's like, well, if I get down to the one I wanted to talk about, is talking about going through the process of how you create the content, because it's really easy for us to look at it. It's like, yeah, it's like Divi. You click this and you do this and it's that, and it's done. And that we need to remember that this is what it looks like. Somebody may not have seen it, and just walk them through the steps. So that one was just a good reminder post. A couple down from that one, the WPMU Dev article on, my brain just decided to die, default WordPress image sizes and how to add custom sizes. Just these kinds of portfolio, not even portfolio, but these gallery expanders, the media expanders, where you can have like medium, large, things like that are by default, but you can add all sorts of different ones that you want, and they show you how using the PHP hooks. So like add theme support, post thumbnails, and things like that. So custom image sizes are pretty much a necessity in WordPress, and you can do a lot of that with Divi and a lot of the modules, but you may also need to dig into the code every now and then. So you can definitely do that with it. There was one article that we posted this week that I wanted to point out, because it's a different take on something that we've talked about here before. I don't know if you guys remember, a few weeks ago, there was an article that we talked about marketing to millennials. And these articles tend to be very... let me think, what's the word I'm looking for? Samey? Where you have the get on social media and make sure you interact on social media, which is true. But Lindsay took this particular article and took a different stance on it, and tried to talk about what you actually need to do on these platforms to market to millennials. And like, brands need to entertain the millennials, that if you're just putting out content and it doesn't keep someone's attention, that they're probably not going to buy anything from you. The way that they're using Instagram stories to interact, things like that, that they want to be part of your brand, that not just spectators, that they want any way to be brought in. And one way that, say like Patreon, Offers is a thing that is basically an Instagram story, that is a Facebook story, all of this, a Snapchat, whatever. It's called the Lens, where patrons can, for a certain amount, get exclusive, like behind the scenes stories and things like that you can post up. So like things like that really get people engaged, especially millennials, because they get to see what's going on behind the scenes. Posting pictures of your products is necessary. You have to do that. Running ads, all of the standard Instagram, social stuff, Twitter, but being able to interact with them and make them seem and feel and actually be a part of that conversation and the brand is equally important. She goes through that you have to create authentic and intriguing content. And, that sounds like a buzzword. Like, you creating this intriguing and authentic, engaging content. But what it is basically make content that helps people. Answer a question, solve a problem, that you're not just putting out the same thing. What Lindsay did with this particular article by writing something specific instead of it being another get on social media kind of post. You want to create authentic content. And then the one that really stood out in my mind that I hadn't even thought about, leave you in suspense for a minute, that I hadn't really thought about before, was that millennials want to use, not own. And thinking about myself being on the elder end of the millennial generation, that it borrowing, leasing, renting, checking out from your library, things like that are really, really popular among this generation because money is tight generally, but also space is at a premium, and a lot of people my age are trying to actually downsize the number of physical objects as well as digital objects that they have, like a cluttered inbox, anything like that. So having a service that you're marketing toward them as an actual like service like Spotify, where they're streaming them, they don't actually, when none of us own that music, own licenses or copies to that music, whatever it would be, those are just there. They're ephemeral. We get our uses out of them and then we move on. Like that was something that really stuck out to me because I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I don't buy movies like I used to. I don't even buy the digital copies anymore as often. I just wait for them to be streaming. Don't y'all? A lot of people do. That's what these services are offering. And as a millennial, it's like, yeah, that is exactly what I do. And then the last one that she talks about, I thought that this was something that y'all should truly keep in mind because it is hard to deal with. Millennials feel a responsibility to provide feedback. Think about that. That doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. That people will tell you a lot what you're doing great. I mean, you guys, a lot of you tell me all the time what is great about Divi. Y'all tell me that. Y'all are champions of this brand, and we love that. But a lot of times, you also tell us what needs to be done. You tell us what can be improved. You provide the feedback for us to make a better product. And a lot of people do that and are feeling that as a responsibility to, when they see something that needs to be addressed, that they approach the a brand and let them know that it's kind of like a crowdsourced QA, and because we're so used to that, because this is the first generation. My generation is the very first generation of people who have access to customer support and brands directly. That sure, you can call a customer support number, like you've always been able to do that, but you're probably not going to write with questions or comments to General Mills. You're probably not going to call the number on the back of your body wash. but there is a good chance that you're going to have something to say and you'll tweet about it. You'll get on Facebook about it and you'll let somebody know. And if you like something, you're going to provide feedback in the form of a review. How much do you trust Amazon reviews? How much do you look at a 4 or 5 star review, the aggregate reviews, and decide it over the 3-star? That's because people have taken it as a responsibility to let other consumers know what works and what doesn't, so that they can save those other people from making a mistake that they've made, or so that they could have a good experience like they've had. I've done that a bunch. I know that when something is great, I write a review of it. I post a blog about it. I make a Twitter thread and just get really excited about it. I mentioned on my podcast one time, it was over December, that Subway had this absolutely fantastic garlic bread meatball sandwich, and it was so good. And on my podcast, I talked for like 5 minutes about how good this sandwich was, and just the number of tweets and emails and Slack messages I got with people sending me pictures of their sandwich that they went out and got. It was like, I just wanted people to enjoy this sandwich. That's all it was, is I wanted other people to feel that way. And so if you can get in on that, if you can hone in on that responsibility that people feel for providing feedback, you can enhance your marketing, because they share reviews that they write, all of that. They like featuring reviews in your emails. Might make someone forward it along. It's like, hey, look, I got featured in this email. My review did. Whatever that is, there are ways to take advantage of that kind of feedback. And there's also a link in here to an article on how to handle customer complaints. They're not all going to be, hey, everything is hunky-dory and wonderful. Sometimes things go wrong, and there is a right and a wrong way of dealing with those criticisms. So there's a good link in there for that. But I thought that was something that really hit me. Maybe it's because it's my generation. Maybe it's because I do these things. But I thought that you would like to know about that one and think about it, because I am no longer in the age demographic that is most desired. That, like, what is it, 18 to 34? But I'm still finding myself doing a lot of the things that demo does. So I'm seeing people. I've missed a bunch of comments while I was talking about stuff. Let's see here. Madalena says that when her conscience bugs her, she buys DVDs and watch what I downloaded off torrents. I've done that in the past as well, where I'm like, I love this, I'm gonna go buy it. I am that guy that everyone says is not a real person, so I'm glad that you are as well. Uncle Social says, I managed to navigate the awful Amazon Prime Video service and then find something worth watching as well. You're in awe. You go in, you know what you want. I search a lot rather than browse. Same for Netflix. And Peter says, Nick just confirmed to me that the global defaults WooCommerce Builder and the theme builder are launching next month. Thank God, no more asking me every week. So it was your comment that I'd actually read off on that, because when I saw that Nick had commented back with that specific information, I made sure to mention that at the beginning of this stream. So Peter, thank you for bringing that up and getting the response and letting all of us know who aren't members of the dev team to know what the timeline is on that. So I want to thank you for that. I see. Let's see, go to here. And Peter says, what do you mean by Reed asks, what do you mean by the theme builder for the header, footers, well as template pages and post types? Yeah, that's what it's all going to include. When people are mentioning the, should make this clear, that when people mention the customizable headers, customizable footers, the ability to make blog post templates, building individual templates for different kinds of posts, things like that posts and pages, that's what we mean by the theme builder. You're going to be able to customize every bit of the theme with doing that, where right now it is within the content area of a post, page, or post page, footer, things like that, you're going to be able to go through and do everything. It's going to be just widespread. So it's going to be awesome. So y'all are gonna have a lot of fun with that. And like Nick said, those global defaults are basically what you can consider the theme designer, so that you can start getting prepped for what everything across board on the site will look like. Yeah, Peter said it was announced that they're working on it 11 months ago, and it's been a long wait. It has. We know that. It is a matter of making sure that it doesn't break everyone's site. The last thing we want, because this is a major change. I mean, this is a change in how right now, like I said, it does everything rather than the content area. So we're having to change the way that Divi writes the page and draws the page. So we want to make sure that when that is implemented, that as few people have hiccups as possible. So that's why it's taken that long, is there are thousands and thousands of legacy sites out there that we care about and don't want people to lose. So we are working very hard on that. Reed says, oh, no, sorry, Peter. No, don't apologize for that at all. I'm glad that you came in, and I thank you for seriously asking that question. There's no need to apologize and saying that. It is a wonderful thing that information got out. Nick said that and put it out there. It's great. I'm so glad that you did. And, Reed says, regarding all of this, that the fact that WordPress 5.0 came out probably messed with that timeline as well. Yeah, it did. Yeah, quite a bit. Because we wanted to make sure that there were no issues there. That actually did halt a lot of, I shouldn't even say halt, redirected how those problems and the theme builder was implemented, because we have to make sure to include Gutenberg. I don't want to say accessibility, compatibility is the word I'm looking for here. So yeah, 5.0 coming out on Thanksgiving week on, good job. That's also a very fun part for Gutenberg. I don't think anyone in WordPress will forgive them for putting it out when they did. I'm not bitter or anything. No, I'm kidding. But I say to Jardel, I'm going to mispronounce that one. Hi to Brazil. I see everybody. I just love y'all coming in. I appreciate it so much. Moving forward a little bit down the tutorials. I want to point out that Yoast has an article on how to create reports in Google Data Studio. A lot of people may not have used Google Data Studio yet. I haven't yet. It is an integration of pretty much everything for you to report with Google Analytics and everything. I don't know why I pronounced Google Analytics all weird, but I did, and I'm just going to roll with it. And so you're going to want to check that out. I'd mentioned last week that WP Shout has a new series on learning PHP for WordPress. They have the second part of it out, which is the control flow basics. And so this is exactly what it said. So go through, look at that, and it is top-notch stuff that WP Shout, when they put out these kinds of coding articles and tutorials, they're wonderful. I want to skip down a couple on to the WP Beginner article in the tutorials. That is the beginner's guide to image SEO, just because of the simple, just very briefly, to make sure that y'all are paying attention to image SEO. That it turned over the last 10 years, a good 30% to 45% of some of my websites and blogs traffic has come through image search. That people are always looking at Google image search, that people are looking for it just constantly. And now that Google has changed the way that Google Images works because of their lawsuit with Getty Images, they have to link back to the site that has the content, not the content itself. So whenever someone runs across your media in image search, they have to go visit your site to see that media instead of just linking directly to it. That was part of the Getty Images settlement, that they're still indexed, but you can't just get to that media. So it is a fantastic thing to make sure that all of those are optimized with alt text. You want titles, that you want just to make sure that those are two different things, remember, that you have a caption if it's necessary, because captions are, I've clicked on so many articles over the years where the content that I was looking for was a note in a caption that was about that long that took me forever to find, because they get indexed like everything else. That it's the same as footnotes. You index footnotes in PDFs and academic journals and things like that. And they go through how you can do this. So this is really remember to do this, folks. It's something that Yoast should yell at you to do. Within the SEO parameters, it has none of the images on this page's alt attributes contain the keyword, I think is how they put it. I see that all the time. So you have to make sure that you are doing that. But Yoast will yell at you if you use it. I'm sure that All-in-One SEO and Squirrely do as well, but I know that Yoast does. Uncle Social says that Google Images is ruined by Pinterest. Yeah. I'm working on a project that is very image heavy right now. I need to look through and find actual examples and resources that have been indexed from marketplaces, and all I can find are Pinterest boards, and it drives me crazy. So sorry. I see that Christoph asks on YouTube, what are the updates taking so long? Why are the updates taking so long? And it is because right now we're making sure that we have a solid foundational code base for this theme builder that everything is building off of, so that it doesn't break things. That is number one priority, is that when you update software, that the fewest things break as humanly possible. And that's one of the things that makes the updates on this one take so long, because Elegant Themes has been around for 11 years and Divi has been around for a good number of those. And so thousands and thousands of sites are built on legacy Divi code. That's also one of the reasons that some of the updates were taking so long before the fall, because if you've noticed the new Divi Builder experience, where you have it's the same on front end and back end now. It's wonderful and great and fantastic, and it has all the features that are there, because the old back end builder was written in a different JavaScript library that wasn't nearly as robust as React is. So now with both of them in the same language, that's going to be able to move forward much more quickly under development, rather than keeping up with two code bases and two libraries that were essentially two separate builders for all intents and purposes. So that's kind of why it's taking a while. We're still making sure that things are not breaking and that the functionality is there. Hopefully that clarifies just a little bit on that one. And I see Donald, again, Donald, I'm so sorry. I know you told me how to pronounce it, and I may be messing it up again. I'm so sorry. I can't remember if it's Donald or Donald. I think it's Donald. Like Donald without the D, right? But add not Pinterest to your search term. I did not know that would do it for domains. I knew that you could do like a minus keyword for Boolean searches to keep out particular keywords. I didn't know you could do that for a domain like that. That's awesome. I will be doing that probably tonight. So thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for that. You have just made my side project go a lot easier. I really, truly appreciate that. I'm sure that somebody else in the audience is going to get some use out of that as well. But even if they don't, I will. I see Ayub on YouTube here. One second, Ayub. I want to I'll get to you, Al Mamoon, in just one second. Um, Ayub on YouTube asks, "Hi, I'm 18 years old and I want to be a web developer. Can you give me any advice?" Um, yes, that is a very broad question. So let me start. I know people in the comments. Please chime in. Please chime in, and give Ayub some advice on this one. Sam has Sam Crow on YouTube gave the advice of learn HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript, which, yes, foundationally, that's what I would suggest as well. When I was younger, when I was 15, I started learning HTML and just, I mean, CSS wasn't really even a thing then. It was just very basic when I stopped. When I was your age, actually, I learned HTML, and then when JavaScript really started taking off, when I was 18, 19 years old, I hated it, and so I stopped. I wish that I had not done that. I wish I had learned it, because Matt Mullenweg said recently that we need to learn JavaScript deeply to be web developers right now, and he is absolutely right. Go through as many of the free tutorials as possible to learn this stuff. Don't put any pressure on yourself to proceed at any kind of pace that is not your own. Just because someone learned how to write a JavaScript app, like React Native app, and get it on the iOS App Store in 2 months, that doesn't mean that you will. That I sure couldn't. That you will learn at your own pace, and if you're not in a course, a lot of these online courses, the free ones, Codecademy, W3 Schools, like Sam mentioned, Treehouse, stuff like that, is they're great, and they're self-paced, that you can go through them. That's what I did. Just worked through a bunch of those. If you look, Ayub asks, what does CMS mean? And that means content management system. Like WordPress is a CMS, where you are you're managing all of the content for a website with that software. Drupal is a content management system. Things like that, where you can put everything in one place like that. And if you go through the, let's see. Oh, sorry. As you're doing all of this, remember that it's not going to come fast, but every little bit is a foundation for something that you absolutely will use later. Don't look at the beginning stuff that you're doing and see like how like that you have a long way to go, because I guarantee you that there are people in the audience right now in the comments who use absolutely day one HTML every single day. That it is so foundational for what you're wanting to do, that from the very beginning you're learning things that you'll use for the rest of your career. That kind of thing. Just keep that in mind as you're going. Now, there are a lot of different ways to go about web development and learning. The two main ones that you may look at are being, and you said web developer, so I'm assuming that you get into coding. You're going to either probably look at being a back-end developer, or a front-end developer, meaning you're going to be the one dealing with the server, dealing with the code, and things that actually run the website, the server processes, all of the underlying actual what the website does, all of those functions. That's a back-end developer. The front-end developer deals a lot with what you see and how the user interacts with the website. That's going to be in a slightly different code stack, the number of languages and kind of software that you use. JavaScript is generally these days the one that ties them both together. And if you can do both, you'll be a full stack developer. And those are the most insane people I know, because they can do so much, and it blows my mind. as Sam Crow says, the front end plus back end is a daywalker. Yeah, I mean they're the thanks for the daywalker comment too. It's just, you will never not have a job if you go full stack developer. But one of the books that our development lead actually said is where he would start, I learned this week, is the O'Reilly book. There is a book, there's a company called O'Reilly, and they publish, probably, honestly, them and No Starch publish some of the best publishing web development books out there, resource books. There's one called PHP. Well, let me just pull it up. Looking here because I have it. Should have it just here. I know I have a link to it in my Asana here. It is called Learning PHP, MySQL, and JavaScript 5th edition. It is the 5th edition. I'm going to put the link to that book in the comments of this video on YouTube and Facebook. That's the one specifically that our lead developer recommended for people to start with. That if you're wanting to get into web development, specifically WordPress development, that one is where the where you start. It's about 800 pages. Now, it's intimidating. It's intimidating to me because I started working through it yesterday. And it's intimidating, but it's great. I gotta say, as someone who is using this book, it's great. How can web developers build a portfolio and get some clients? Where do I need to be active on which platforms? I know that there are people who can answer that in the comments, so I'll move just a little bit further down and come back. But the one thing that I will caution against is doing, after you learn, once you get some on there, you'll want to build sites from the very beginning, and as you go, keep those in your portfolio, and as you get better, replace the worst ones with something that does what it does but better. That's what I did. That's what a lot of people do, and do not do work for free. Somebody's going to take it as you being a new person to the field, and they're going to try to get you to do work for free. You still have those skills. They may be beginner skills, but they are skills, and you have earned them and deserve to be paid for the work that you do and the skills that you have. So that is great. So thank you guys for chiming in on that. I'm gonna move forward just a little bit since we are like almost out of time. And thank you for that. Hopefully that helped a little bit, Ayub, and hopefully it will continue to go in the comments here. Now, I want to move into the resources. I never get around here. But speaking of web development, this was one for you JavaScript developers out there. The second one under the resources one is in defense of the ternary statement. It is a really awesome article because it talks about how ugly if statements are. And if you've done any kind of programming and development, if statements are kind of your bread and butter. I mean, I've used those as conditionals since I was dealing with Fortran 77 and QBasic. And one of the things that he says in this article, this writer talks about how they're ugly and there are ways that are better. And he talks about ternary statements, which are basically conditional arguments that you're using or and operators to do the exact same thing, but with one line of code instead of having like 6 to 11 or more. It's awesome. Like I read through this and was just enthralled looking at the code because I did not know that JavaScript could do these things, because I personally think that JavaScript is an ugly language. I do not like reading JavaScript, and most people don't like reading JavaScript. And if you can get to using these ternary statements, you will have much prettier JavaScript. It's great. So if you're a JavaScript developer at all, or like Ayub looking to get into them, this is a good thing to bookmark and come back to when it gets into your skill set to use this kind of logic. It's neat. So, and then there's also the why marketers should learn to code. That this is basically the idea that if you are marketing something, you need a more fundamental grasp of that product than most people, that you need to be able to just answer a question like that if somebody asks you. And if you understand the source code for that, then you can more readily answer those questions. And it doesn't mean that you have to code well. It just means that you have to learn and know enough to be dangerous, which is kind of like me being able to explain the difference in the old Divi Builder and the new Divi Builder. It's like I know the fundamentals, what the difference in Backbone and React are, but if you put them both out in front of me, I couldn't tell you which was which in terms of reading the language, but I understand them both enough to know that React is more robust and able to do what we need it to do. So that's what I mean by that. As a marketer learning to code, immersing yourself within that particular language that your product uses. And then this one is for Uncle Social. Privacy UX, privacy user experience on better cookie consent experiences. I know that, and there are others, but I always want to point this out for Uncle Social, knowing that he's in the UK. Anybody who is in Europe or the EU, or England, I guess. I say that I guess because no one knows what's going on right now. The GDPR is very important. I know that your cookie consents are way better than ours in the United States. Just having traveled there in the fall, that the websites in Spain had lots better cookie consent and GDPR consent than we do. And this will help some of you make better choices on that. And then just the very last thing before I have to get out of here, I want to point out, and there are tons more articles on here than this. Remember, click through, open up all of these into a tab and individual tabs, and try to crash your computer. But the main other one I wanted to point out was it's called Why a Retainer Might Be a Better Option for Your Website Project. And this is from the perspective of a client, but you might read this as a professional and think of a business model that might work for you, because we keep retainers for attorneys, they say. So when you need the services, you can just approach them and do it. That this is different than a maintenance contract. This is different than something that you are contracted out to do every month or on a regular schedule. Think about a retainer that you pay someone up front to retain their services for when you need them. That's something that you could offer some of your clients that might get you money that you can use to expand your services and then keep a working relationship with them and keep kind of a rolling balance with them. It's a really interesting idea, and for the client, it gives them the opportunity not only to have a fuller experience than a maintenance contract allows, but also allows them access to more people on your team, let's say, that you might not have to do it. Whatever they come up with when they approach you might be a project that you don't deal with, but one of your employees do, or one of your subcontractors can do. So very interesting idea for a business model. And if you've not thought about it, just read the article, give it some thought, because it was really interesting, and I hadn't considered that in web development before, but they make a lot of sense at Web Dev Studios there. So it's like I said, Barry says on YouTube, very interested in the retainer idea. And yeah, absolutely. When I saw it, I was like, that's a really good idea. It's kind of like, I kind of have that going on right now. It's not necessarily even a retainer, but one of my friends paid me up front for something to help him with this project as he moves through it. So whenever he needs something, I meet up with him and help him. It's a retainer, and it works out. It's worked out really well. So it's Donald says has one retainer. It's a hard sell as most clients know that they can get help when they need it and don't need to pay every month for a just in case. It's true, but if you can get them to do it, it's a very helpful thing for them. So Sam Crow says you have monthly retainers from clients that stabilized your business. So awesome. I'm glad to hear that, Sam. So guys, I'm out of time. I should probably stop rambling about this. I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming out and watching this. I hope you have fun with the new Divi feature that came out this week. I think you're going to really, really like the dragging sizes. And I think that you're going to absolutely be great at web development, Ayub. I hope that you go well. I hope that some of the stuff we said helped today. And feel free to come back every Friday that we do this. Ask questions. We have some wonderful, wonderful folks, and love more than anything to be able to help out other people. So remember, if you came in late on this, that we do archive this stream on YouTube and Facebook once it's over, so you can go back and watch anything that you missed, and all of the links that we don't get to in the video are in the description of the video. So there are a lot more that we're not able to talk about. So hopefully you'll find some other cool stuff in there that you will like. That said, I will see you guys next Friday. Remember that our next Divi stream, next live stream rather, will be on Monday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern, where Matt goes through the new feature. And then on Tuesday, Jason will be back with us with a use case to show you how to use Divi and WordPress in a real life situation to go along with the blog post. So make sure that you ring the bell, because YouTube won't tell you that we go live if you just subscribe. And make sure that you tell Facebook that you would like to know when we go live, and you'll be told all the time. So I will see you guys when we come back. I'll see you next Friday for me at 3 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube and Facebook. Bye, you guys. Good luck with the week, and have an absolutely fantastic weekend. Bye, you guys.